A few years back, I thought I had found the perfect living situation. A close friend of mine had recently bought and renovated an apartment, but was struggling to sell it. So I offered to rent it from him in the meantime. It seemed like a win-win, but I had no idea what I was walking into. The trouble started with the woman living next door. She was about 45 years old. But if you looked at her, you would have guessed she was decades older. There was something deeply worn and frantic about her appearance. Every single night, she would blast Christian radio shows at an ear-splitting volume, often shouting back at the voices on the radio. It got to the point where I simply couldn't sleep. One night, fueled by exhaustion, I marched over to her unit to ask her to keep it down. When she cracked the door open, I froze. The smell hit me first: damp, rotting stench of old carpet, animal filth, and cockroaches. Over her shoulder, I caught a glimpse of her walls. They were covered in crosses, painted in manic, different colors. Words like Jesus and angels were scribbled everywhere in frantic handwriting. Her windows were painted pitch black, blocking out all sunlight. I managed to stutter out a request for her to lower the volume. She didn't say a word. She just stared right through me with dead eyes and slammed the door in my face. Then she turned the radio up even louder. The breaking point happened the following night. My girlfriend was staying over, and we were both fast asleep. Sometime in the dead of night, I woke up. You know that feeling when the air in the room feels heavy. I opened my eyes and saw a shadow looming over the side of the bed, just standing there, watching us sleep. My brain tried to tell me I was hallucinating, that it was just a trick of the dark. But then the shadow spoke. You should really lock your doors at night. It was her, my neighbor. She had broken into my apartment and was standing inches from my face. Before I could process the adrenaline spike, she turned and walked out the front door. The next morning, the sun was shining, but the horror wasn't over. I heard strange noises beneath my bedroom window. I looked out and saw her standing in the yard, speaking in tongues to herself. She was swinging a black plastic bag in her hand. It was a sweltering hot day, and even from the second floor, the smell of death rising from that bag was unmistakable. It was her dog. She had killed it and was carrying it around like a purse. At this point, I was terrified. I ran upstairs to knock on another neighbor's door, a guy who lived above me, to ask if he knew what was going on. When he opened the door, he looked just as scared as I was. He told me that she had broken into his apartment a few evenings prior. He was watching TV with his kids, got up to grab a snack, and found her crouching behind his couch. He told me she was just staring at him, holding a power drill in her hand. My blood ran cold when she was standing over me and my girlfriend while we slept. I hadn't seen her hands in the dark. For all I know, she was holding that drill over my head the entire time. We called the cops immediately. They told us she was a violent schizophrenic who had gone off her medication. But because she owned the unit, they couldn't force entry unless she came outside. So we waited. For 2 days, I sat by my window, waiting for her to run out of cigarettes. Finally, at Loungin AM, she left to go to the 7-Eleven across the street. I signaled the police. Within minutes, 3 squad cars and a van swarmed her. They restrained her and took her away to an institution. It all happened so fast, less than a minute. She was gone, like she was never there. But the trauma stayed. I moved out shortly after, but I still have nightmares about waking up in the dark, seeing her shadow looming over me, wondering what she was holding in her hand that night.